All right, so the special factors we're going to factor here, the special polynomials we're going to factor here, what makes them special is they have two terms. And so they're not trinomials. We're going to be factoring these things with two terms. Other things that make them special are that each of the terms is um, a perfect square. So you've got x is an x squared and 100 is a 10 squared. All right. And so basically what we're talking about, these things are referred to as differences of squares because of the subtraction. That's your difference. And then what you're doing is you're subtracting one square from the other. And so let's just run through these and show you how to factor them. So once we've once we factor out common factors, and then we've seen that the the both of the terms are a perfect square, and you need to know you need to remember your perfect squares, right? 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, etc., so that you can recognize them as perfect squares. And so once you see that everything's a perfect square and it's a difference, then you just go this way. It's going to factor into two trinomials. It'll be x minus 10 and x plus 10. X is squared, and 100 is a 10 squared, and so that's where I've got the tens. X minus 10 and x plus 10. Now, of course, that's the same as x plus 10, so sometimes you'll see it written this way. But the point is, it will always factor like that. So if we look at this second one, y squared is a y squared, 25 is a 5 squared. So this is going to factor into y minus 5, y plus 5. Here, we have the same kind of thing. It's a little more complicated, but everything is a square. And we notice that 16x squared is a 4x times a 4x. So 4x squared. 4x minus 3, 4x plus 3. Down here, continuing, 9x squared. That's going to give us a 3x and a 3x. And then, of course, for the 49, it's going to be a minus 7 and a plus 7. See, these things all factor fairly quickly because they fit into this difference of squares pattern. Now, this last one's a little bit different, but it is still a perfect square. And to get the x to the fourth, you need an x squared and an x squared. To get the 256, you need a 256 is a 16 squared, so minus 16 and plus 16. Now, that leads us to this. Once you're done factoring, you want to look and see if you can factor the factors that you've just found. And we notice that this first one, x squared minus 16, will factor into x minus 4 and x plus 4 because it's a difference of squares. X squared plus 16 is a sum of squares. We're adding two squares, and it turns out you cannot factor that. It's unfactorable. So this can't be factored. Sums of squares can't be factored, whereas differences of squares, like all of these things that we've done here, can be factored. Here's actually the formula. If you have something squared minus something else squared, they will always factor into this. The first something minus the second something, and the first something plus the second something.